It's about having your own voice, being authentic, and your tribe will find you. We would say have at least a year worth of like your money, so your living expenses.
So you kind of have to think to yourself, well, how do I create a future where I'm not fully reliant on my creator business?
If we don't show up, we still have income coming from other streams. We run an online personal finance education platform.
A lot of creators need to question what their relationship with money looks like.
Numbers is vanity. Likes, all of that is vanity if you don't have a business plan, structure, and long-term goals.
And I think we're the first black couple to actually do it.
Hi Ken, hi Mary.
Hey.
Welcome to the studio.
Yes, thank you.
I'm so excited to have you here. This is actually the first time I've had two people.
Oh,
So I'm excited. I feel like you guys are probably used to doing things as a duo though.
Yes, no, we are.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
So I always like to start by asking you to introduce yourselves and think about it as if you're speaking to someone who's never come across you before.
So I'm Ken of the Humble Penny and Financial Joy Academy. I'm married to Mary, been married for 13 years, and we work together. My background is that I had a 14-year finance career working in the investment business, worked my way up to become a chief financial officer. But I've always had this desire to create and explore my entrepreneurial side. And the Humble Penny, among other things, was one of the ways in which we went about trying to do that.
And I'm Mary, the other half of the Humble Penny, and we run an online personal finance education platform where we teach people how to take control of their finances, grow their money, and work towards a dream life of financial independence and money joy.
Amazing. So, Ken, you just said that you worked in finance for 14 years.
Yeah.
And you guys have been married for 13 years.
Yes.
Those numbers just blow me away because you look so young. When you're saying those numbers, I'm doing the math and I'm like,
I know, right?
When?
Yeah.
So you took the leap. So you went from, you were CFO.
Yes.
And did you literally decide, actually, I'm going to park this and I'm going to go specifically into this type of business? Or was there a different plan? Can you talk me through that?
So COVID was 2020 was the turning point. So April 2020, I decided to leave my career. I'd done an MBA, I'd done all these things, trained as a chartered accountant, worked my way up, was very well paid, all the things you get, all the perks. But 2020 was a turning point because firstly, there's a lot happening, obviously, with lockdown and what have you. But Mary and I had been working towards this vision one day of maybe doing our own thing, but doing something we felt we were truly going to enjoy. And we started the Humble Penny as a passion project in 2017. Began life as a blogging like 3 times a week. So I was learning to write and stuff. And then 2019, we began the YouTube channel at the Humble Penny by the same name. But then COVID, it was a collision of homeschooling our 2 children who are currently aged 11 and 10, board level role that I was doing, hugely demanding from home, homeschooling, among other things, mental health challenges, marriage, and navigating the pandemic. And we kind of looked at each other and were like, do you know what? Like we've been working towards this. Our thing has always been, how do we become financially independent? And we'd actually got to that point already, but then letting go of your corporate job that's, you get 6 figures, you get all the things, it's actually quite hard to do that.
Yeah.
And you're used to that cycle of salaries coming in at the same time every month. But something about that moment felt right for me. And also it helped that Mary had actually done it I
had in 2019, the year before. So I started working on Humble Penny full-time in 2019 because, like Ken said, it was just hard juggling the business, the children, the Humble Penny that was growing quite quickly. So, it was nice. It felt right when Ken did it. And I guess COVID was that needed push that we needed, because otherwise you probably would have tried to juggle it
both as long as possible,
which wouldn't have been good for us, our mental health, our marriage, just everything generally.
The demand was like so much, but I mean, I'd be getting calls for stuff. Come on BBC Radio 4, come on all these places to have a chat, and then I'd go during my lunch break. I'd go from Marylebone High Street. I'd quickly go to. So it was like I knew there would be a crunch period. So it just felt like the right time. But there's a very important point to make. Mary and I were already mortgage free. Like we'd already done certain things that were offered us what people don't talk about, almost this foundation, such that you're like, you know what? Not very much might go wrong. Things might go wrong, but we can actually take the risk and see how it goes.
Yeah. I would love to dig into that a little bit deeper, because there is a bit of a trend at the moment where people are quitting their jobs to become creators. In fact, that was kind of the trend maybe like a year ago. And then now people are going back to their jobs.
Yeah.
There's like a new trend. People are quitting and then they're like, wait a minute, this is hard. And then they're going back to their jobs. So I did a video on this recently, and I would just love to talk to you about, what do you think people, what situation do you think people need to be in from a financial perspective before they should consider leaving their job to pursue content creation or anything similar?
So like ordinarily, we would say that you should always have at least 3 to 6 months worth of emergency funds. But for somebody who wants to leave their career to work full time
On a business.
then we would say have at least a year worth of like your money. So your living expenses. So whatever you need to survive on in a year, have that stored in liquid funds so that you can easily access it. Because as we know, as being a content creator, you don't have a regular source of income like your salary, your wages. It's up, down, and it fluctuates.
Yeah.
What else?
I was just going to add to that as an excellent point.
Thank you.
I was going to add to that content creating is an interesting thing, really, because it's actually not the business. It's more a vehicle for how you run a business, right? So I think personally, if someone had this ambition of doing this, firstly, I'd say to them, look, if you can, for as long as you can, keep your job for as long as you can, because running a business and being a content creator is actually pretty challenging. I don't think people really understand, because I think particularly post the pandemic, there's so many people who have become content creators, because we're all had this experience in 2020. More people were like, oh, I've got a camera, I've got my phone, I want to get into this thing. And so there are many voices out there. There's a lot of competition. But at the same time, there's this machine, these various algorithms that you're at the mercy of. And if you haven't got certain business skills, it could be quite difficult to make a business viable, because there are different things you need to be aware of. You need to learn marketing and sales skills. You need to have operational skills. You have to have bookkeeping or finance, accounting skills. There's so many things that come together that you need for you to then create a business that far exceeds the potential you might have from a normal day job, or to create that recurring income that you need. Then there's the potential around what business model do you use? How do you approach it so that every month you're not chasing your tail, you're not in this rat race of content creation. So I almost feel like there is a missing educational piece around this business of content creating that isn't really easily available, because there's so much noise on the internet and people aren't really talking a lot about it. So I'm glad that you've said you've talked about some of this already.
Yeah, that's actually like one of the main kind of missions behind the Creator Project and the content, is to fill that gap, because you're completely right. I always say to people, because I quit my job, I think I was 6 months or 7 months, I always forget how long it really was, let's say 7 months after my first YouTube video. So it wasn't even
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was so quick.
Yeah.
Gosh.
It was so quick. And every time I think back to it, I'm like, why did you make that decision? It was the right one.
Yeah.
But when I think back to it, it feels silly, but it was the right decision. I think a lot of that, if I'm honest though, and being completely transparent, a big part of that was luck. It was the right time. I was at a time where I was on furlough for half that time. So I had some time to really build my brand and my business. And we were going through a time where there was more eyes online. So my content was doing really well. And I had marketing and business experience.
Yes.
Exactly.
The catalyst.
Thank you.
You're not like not to say that people who are doing this full time don't have that background experience, but a lot of them don't. And so when you said 7 months, yes, it was a bit of a shock, but also I knew that you would be absolutely fine and you would smash it.
Yeah.
But other people looking at us, they don't realize our background. I had a business background. You had a business and corporate background.
Finance,
and
marketing,
that has
sales,
helped us significantly when it comes to all the contracts that we're writing, being able to negotiate and advocate, ask for more.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't really have that before they jump into it, and they will be in for a big shock.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Ooh,
And
don't rush.
that's why it's so important to, I feel like all I ever do is caveat online, because every conversation is so nuanced, but that's why it's so important to say things like that, because if you hear the top line, I quit 7 months after my first YouTube video, it can very quickly seem like, well, then I can do that. But everyone can't do that. The same way if I was in a different industry that I was completely new to, I would not be able to progress quickly. It's not the same for everyone. And I also loved what you mentioned about having all this background and having all this experience, and how, becoming a creator is just a vehicle, right? It's just a platform. Social media is a platform that you use to start your broader business.
Yes.
And I find that is often the difference between creators who can do this full time in the long run,
Yes,
and creators who can have a burst of income and can love it and keep their job, and they can use that money towards something, and that's amazing. But it doesn't become their career, and that's okay too. But I do think that is the difference.
I feel like there's a third piece that's missing, and I hope that's where, like, because I think what's unique about Mary and I is that yes, people look at us, oh, you're creators, but then we're actually finance experts and money experts. I think that money piece is very important because oftentimes when people start creator-led businesses, they actually forget, and I see this with a lot of freelancers and small business owners, they forget that the business is a vehicle for their personal wealth building and personal well-being.
Yeah, it's such a good point.
They actually forget that. And it becomes about, how do I survive in my business? How do I thrive? How do I buy the best equipment and best cameras and all this stuff? Almost like the vanity becomes the ambition almost. But forgetting ultimately that this, for a lot of creators, their income doesn't carry on going up on a straight line forever. So you kind of have to think to yourself, well, how do I create a future where I'm not fully reliant on my creator business, but I have other things that are working for me such that I don't go hungry, man. Like, I can still pay my bills.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me how you guys have done that. Like, what does your current business look like?
We run two main brands. So the Humble Penny is almost our cheerleading brand. People know about and come across on everywhere: Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and so on. Then almost outside of that cheerleading brand, are then other brands. So there's Financial Joy, our book.
Here it is.
Probably put it here. A Sunday Times bestseller, I should say. And Mary and I made some history.
Huge congratulations.
Made some history landing this book, and we'll talk more about it in a minute. So Financial Joy is a sub-brand of the Humble Penny as a cheerleading brand. That's the Financial Joy book. Then there's Financial Joy Academy. It's a membership platform where our mission when we started was to help at least 10,000 people to become financially independent in a decade. Then there are other things. Got what we call our Architect program. It's a program we help to teach other people how to launch membership businesses. Then we have other products. They're all effectively on a value ladder. That's the best way to put it. From free things to low-cost ebooks and things like that, to done-for-you things, coaching programs, to memberships, to books. So it's taken a while to feel that value ladder, almost for the person who's listening who doesn't know what I'm talking about. Effectively think of a collection or a way in which you offer value to people over time, such that the more value you offer, the more you can charge for that value. Yeah. So if someone came to me today and said, oh, Ken, we want you and Mary to speak at a conference, that's almost at the top of our value ladder. It's like someone booking us for consultancy or whatever. Then in there will be sponsorships and all those things. So what we try to do is effectively create a world where we're creating an ethical money brand that's at the top. It's the Humble Penny. And out of that ethical money brand, the front faces of the brand are Mary and I. You know, people see us, they know who we are. And the thing that powers that ethical money brand are our values, the things we believe in, how we look at life, our approach to being authentic, and our voice. Our core message is, the tagline of the Humble Penny is create financial joy. It's been the same since the 3rd of December 2017 when we began this journey. So our almost overarching message is we can help you design a life of financial joy. And then it's out of that life of financial joy that all these other things have come, from people asking questions. Oh, can you guys talk to us about this? We're like, oh, maybe we should create an investing course. Maybe we should. So they've all come out of listening to people, listening to our communities on different platforms, and then gradually building things and then building systems that help to make things work automatically.
And just to add to that, like, the good thing about the value ladder is that we can create things for people at different price points. So we have, 80% of what we do is actually free. More than 80%, yeah. So which is great for people who aren't ready to actually commit financially. Whereas we have low ticket items and higher tickets. So wherever you are and however much you want to commit, we have something available for people. But then that's just one aspect of it. And that's just, I guess, although it's different revenue streams, we also have, outside of the Humble Penny and outside of Financial Joy Academy, we also like invest
our
elsewhere.
Own personal lives.
So our personal investments, like in the stock market and also in property. So we're not so reliant on the Humble Penny, the business. Like if we don't show up, we still have income coming from other streams.
And did you start to build those? Were those the income streams or the revenue streams that you had before this brand? Because you mentioned were you mortgage free before you went?
Oh yeah.
Very impressive, guys.
I guess that's what we're talking about with Penny.
Yeah.
We literally are just telling people about like what we've done, our journey, and we're sharing it with everyone.
We're sharing our lived, because Mary and I met in 2009,
right,
and got married in 2011. We began that journey of designing the life we wanted as a couple, as a family. And that life, we didn't know that in the future there'd be a thing called a humble penny or any of this stuff. We just had our jobs. You know, I was working in finance as an accountant and what have you, and Mary's working in IT and then worked in childcare and stuff like that. So that was our lives. But then at some point, there came a point where we were like, you know what, I kind of wanted to do something else. And the humble penny became like a seed, we bought the domain, thehumblepenny.com, 99p. Bought. That was really the beginning.
Yeah.
Early 2017, April 2017, we coined the phrase create financial joy and began to get our trademarks and stuff like that done. Then in December, we began the blog. That became the beginning. Yeah. So we didn't know any of this would happen. You know, it's kind of like we've just evolved with it. But I think there is something to be said about like being really original in the space, or as you know, because there's so many voices. I think one thing that's helped us is we focused a lot on brand and we focused a lot on like owning our voice, you know, owning that voice. I think a lot of people just reproduce what everybody else puts out, but you have to almost think, what do I want to say to the world, and why is that important, and how do I then say it in my own voice? I think that's what's really helped us in many ways kind of keep going, and also not forgetting the fact that the bit, because we've been diligent with our finances, that's helped a lot, because a lot of people who started this with us have actually given up. They've given up years ago and went and got their, like you said, there's a trend, went and got their jobs back and what have you. So I think diligence with personal finances means more potential for success in business, I personally think.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I also think you guys are really good at communicating your story. I think it gives you a lot of credibility. And I think your point to it's about your voice and that really helps you differentiate yourself from others is more important now than ever before. Because do you remember before COVID, or like at the start, there definitely weren't many creators who looked like us.
Yeah.
So true.
But even, you know, the fact that we were providing like educational content wasn't that much of a thing. And it's changed drastically now. And I mostly think that's a good thing. I think the more people in this space sharing their value and their knowledge, the better. But it's definitely a different place, isn't it?
It is.
And I think being original and knowing what your story is and knowing what your tone of voice is going to be the thing what helps you set yourself apart from someone else who might be saying something similar.
Yes, absolutely. Because like we all have our own tribes and they will find you based on your unique message. So like you said, it's absolutely great that there are so many more people, because it means more richer conversations, more opportunities to collaborate, and also, but like you said, it's about having your own voice, being authentic, and your tribe will find you. Because,
I also think in almost the new AI world we find ourselves in. This is a big shift we're experiencing. I'm not sure a lot of people have really realized that. And again, because I guess I always think as an investor first, I always look at things from that perspective. I don't think a lot of creators think like that, which is, look, there's already a big shift happening. Question is how do you sustain yourself? How do you sustain your income? How do you sustain your business? The thing I've learned personally is the more you have other vehicles that are working for you, the better. And it's particularly difficult for creators, because in the creator space, there's a lot of, like, I hear a lot of people say things like, they watch a lot of these videos where people are making tech reviews and like the latest camera, latest lens.
Gadgets,
A lot of creators waste their money on stuff like this. A lot of vanity and a lot of waste. When I actually think, in actual fact, you should be thinking from an ROI perspective, which is, what other return could I get on the money what's the opportunity cost of that money? What else could I put that money into to not only create a better return potentially, but to almost create an insurance for myself? I think that's the piece I feel creators are missing. A lot of creators don't have a safety net. A lot of them are just like chasing the views and comparing themselves to other people a lot of the time. When in actual fact, if you think about it, you could create a very happy, very safe life for yourself financially without making a lot of noise. You can actually do that. A lot of very successful business people don't even have a YouTube channel. They don't even exist on the internet in the way that people. So I almost think we need to think from that perspective, which is, yes, it's good to create all this stuff and be seen and have your message, but what does your foundation look like?
Yeah.
Like, what are you standing on? You know, is it solid?
Yeah.
If you lost, like, let's say they shut you down on all platforms, you got cancelled or whatever, everything got shut down. Are you going to be able to pay your bills and still get by? If you've got children, will your children still be able to eat and have the electricity turned on and the heating? I almost feel like people don't think to that level.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think, and sometimes people think, well, you know, I'll think about that in a year. Let me just get to this point. Let me just buy this thing. And then like, I'll start saving and do all that other stuff. I'll start investing later on down the line, you know?
Yeah.
So what kind of tips or advice would you have for any creators listening who are like, wait a minute, I've not thought about this?
So I think it even just goes down to, are they actually set up correctly? So are you set up as a limited company or sole trader? And with that comes opportunities for you to then think about having a pension. So whether that's a SIP or a stocks and shares ISA or a general investing account. And if you're set up correctly, then you can actually pay yourself or take money from the company, the business, exactly, to pay into the pension, which is then you don't have to get taxed on that, basically.
Yeah.
A SIP is a self-invested personal pension.
Self-invested personal pension, exactly.
Great.
So it's just important because when you're an employee, you have your employer that does all of that for you. You know, it's mandatory that you have your pensions. But when you're doing it all by yourself, it's actually a lot for you to think about, but having those things in place is very important because you need to be planning for your future self as well. So it's about having that long-term goal about, you know, are you paying into the right investment platforms for the long term to protect yourself? Like if you do, like you said, you don't do this, you're not going to be doing this forever. The money's not going to be coming in as frequent or regular as it is now in the future.
I was going to add to what you were saying there. So what Mary's describing is almost strategy, right? But I think before we get to strategy and steps, there's a foundation that needs to be built first. So I think a lot of creators need to question what their relationship with money looks like. So, you know, this is a very important topic because if you don't deal with the underlying root causes, then it's a lot harder to actually do anything we're saying today. So question, like if I ask anybody listening now, how would you describe your relationship with money? Is it healthy? Is it toxic? Like, just be honest. Like, what does it actually look like? I'll give you a really good example. So someone I know who spoke to me yesterday, a couple, husband has savings, wife is suddenly in 30K debt, trying to launch a business. Now, this speaks a lot to relationship with money because a lot of what we talk about when you talk about relationship money is to what extent are you being held accountable for your money decisions? Like who are you checking things with to make sure you're not making decisions that kind of land you in a lot of trouble? So I think creators need to dig a bit deeper into that and look at how do you view money? Do you see money as something that just flows in and flows back out? Or do you see money as something that flows in, but then you put it to work? Right? Yeah. It's a big distinction, right? Because I know on my journey, for a lot of my early life in my early 20s, money was just flow in and flow out. It was literally like I'd make it and spend it.
Yeah.
I wanted to keep up a lot, and keep up would be different for creators. For me back then, it was I wanted a Rolex watch, I wanted my Cartier bracelet. I'd see stuff. I'm like, oh, that Cartier bracelet that looks like a screwdriver. Like I wanted wanted the things that everyone had. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My relationship money was not in a very healthy place.
Yeah.
And I think we have to be honest about that because without that honesty, there's no future of financial joy, as Mary and I put it, because you're not really dealing with what's most important. Because you could be a creator who makes 50K a year, but you could have more wealth than somebody who makes 250K a year.
Yeah.
Because you understand your relationship with money, you've done something about making sure you're working on your money habits, you're working on the right behaviors. So I think that bit of creating that initial foundation is so key. And then from there, you can then start to apply what Mary shared around things like, okay, structures, do I have the right accounts, the right pots, Yeah,
it's true. You definitely need to do the groundwork. And we talk a lot about this in the book, actually. And there's loads of exercises that we get people to do just to think about what is your money persona. Have you picked up, because a lot of our money blueprint is formed by the age of 7.
Yeah.
And it's basically, as a child. And it's what you've absorbed from your environment, your parents, and it's things that you take in without you even knowing or subconsciously. And until it's actually addressed as an adult, or unless you're really self-aware, you'll continue having those either good money habits or poor money habits, so they could either serve you well or not. And so, it's a great exercise. And we also talk about some money personas.
I actually want to read a money persona.
Do you know what? Just mention all the personas and then just read a couple. Jade can pick which one.
So for anyone who's...
I'm excited.
All right. So, so go on then.
I'm going to pick one. I'm going to see if there's one that I think is me.
Go on. I'm actually quite excited to hear this.
Oh, okay. Oh, no, that one's me. That one's definitely me. I don't even
Which one
the
is
rest.
it?
The planner.
Okay.
All
right, so let's read. All right, so we're reading from week 2 of Financial Joy. So week 2 is building a positive relationship with money. And on page 51, we've got looking at money personas. And Jade has picked the planner. So the planner is known for geeking out on spreadsheets and creating scenarios. Their personality trait is planners meticulously organize their finances, create budgets, and set specific financial goals. They value structure and control in managing their money and prefer to make informed decisions based on careful analysis.
Yes, very much me.
I love that. It's so
sensible.
I have not always been like that.
Yeah.
It's definitely come with the business. So what you were saying about your kind of approach to money being formed from when you're under 7 is petrifying, by the way, but makes sense. And I was very similar to how you used to be in terms of I'd made money and I spend it, but more because I was never in jobs where I had a lot of money. So it was like, well, I need to spend it, right? I wasn't living to the right. I wasn't living within my means enough. So money was very much going out the window. And then the second I started to earn more, thank God I switched, because that could have been dangerous. But once I started to earn more for my own business, suddenly I was like, oh, wait a minute. Let's actually go into this. And I love a good spreadsheets, but to the point to my detriment. Like I will often on a Saturday just be like this on my spreadsheets.
That
like
will always serve you well.
Scenarios.
I don't see how that could be detrimental.
Do you think?
Well,
sometimes it's a bit obsessive.
I mean, if your partner doesn't quite understand it, he'll be like, okay, you're a bit much now, Jade.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like
I actually think, because this is my lived experience. As a trained, one of my skills as an accountant is you become a geek on your spreadsheets. But I think at some point you need to take a leap of faith. Because I know people who've analysed every scenario about the property market. They're like, with the property market, what will happen to interest rates? What happened to this? What happened to that? But they never actually take action.
True.
It's all about the numbers and obsessing over it. Whereas I think you're much better off having awareness of the numbers. But actually what's bigger is saying, actually, I'm going to take a leap. Like, I'm actually going to I'm going to do something. I'm going to do something. So I think, having that combination.
Listen to the opposite, okay? This is the passenger, but then this is depending if they've got a partner. Anyway, passengers known for not knowing what's going on with their finances until things go wrong. Their personality trait is that passengers usually allow their partner to look after all aspects of their household finances and don't get involved at all. And in a lot of cases, passengers are women who have traditionally seen it as a man's place to look after money. They often see money management either as too complicated or they're too busy raising children or making money as entrepreneurs. As a result, they're usually not well placed to spot the signs of mismanagement or their household finances until problems become obvious.
I can imagine that being really common. I can imagine how that scenario could end up coming to fruition without people even realizing that's what's happening. You know? And I feel like I probably could have easily gone that route as well. I don't have kids yet. And also I'm very untraditional. So I think that's probably part of the reason that if anything, that makes me want more control over my money. Because I'm like, no, I need to know. So let's not go into my whole psychoanalysis.
That is okay.
Save that for another episode. That is so interesting. So for anyone who is interested in buying your book, which I'm sure a lot of people are, obviously there's going to be links below. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
So Financial Joy is a 10-week plan to help you banish debt, grow your money, and unlock financial freedom. So it's written from our perspective as a couple who've actually achieved financial independence at the age of 34, including mortgage-free in 7 years. So we're written this from our lived experience. Now, this book is very unusual because it's written as a 10-week plan. Most books just have chapters in them, whereas this book is a walkthrough. So you can read it quicker than 10 weeks, obviously, if you're a quick reader, but it guides you to do the exercises. So within the book, you find like spaces, for you to fill stuff out. I just turn this here for you to fill things out and that kind of thing. So we want you to actually pause, and if you've got a partner, discuss with them. If you don't have a partner, write some things down. But this book also has case studies in it. So by that, I mean real life interviews of people at different stages of the money journey, people at the beginning, people in the middle, people who are living paycheck to paycheck, people who are financially free, and people who've done it with different strategies, whether it's the stock market, property, starting and selling a business. One of the case studies here actually is Timo, who sold his business, I believe, for over £10 million.
Wow.
I believe
at the age of 27.
At the age of
Oh my God.
So he's a case study in this book actually, and he tells his story and how he went about doing that. And people who've created side hustles. One of our friends, Sarah, her blog makes multi six figures. She does incredibly well from it and only works a handful of hours a week. Doesn't have a YouTube channel, doesn't have a podcast, doesn't have all these things, but lives a phenomenal life. Again, she's in this book. So we wanted to create a book that has something that we haven't seen in other books. But more importantly, Financial Joy brings together two worlds. The financial world is about the journey towards wealth. It's what we usually want. Everybody wants to be financially free, but we do it at the cost of joy, which is the well-being. Well-being is what we need. And so without the well-being, in our personal experience as a couple, as parents, as entrepreneurs, without the well-being, there's really no wealth. Because you can do all this work for nothing. You can stack up and all these things, but then one day, you get diagnosed with something, God forbid, or, it becomes pointless. So what we want is for this book to help you create that blend of wealth and well-being. So it's available everywhere.
Exactly. And also we talk about things in here that you won't find necessarily in our blogs or YouTube channel, and we talk about our investments. So we go deep into like how to invest in the stock market, the difference between passive index funds, ETFs, and active investing. So we tell you exactly the funds that we invest in this book. And it goes into detail, estate planning, the lot. It's thorough.
Did I say it's a Sunday Times bestseller?
Yes.
I think you did.
I actually don't think you did, because I was about to say it. Say it again.
Financial Joy is a Sunday Times bestseller, and I think we're the first black couple to actually do it.
Oh my God.
We've done
a mic drop moment.
Yeah, but it's thanks to our audience. They our community really supported us with it, because that was our goal, and we got there because of them. Like, they backed it.
Friends, family, communities. So it's available Amazon, Waterstones, WH Smith's, Audible. But I've heard from people, if you have the Audible version, most people still come back to the physical copy because it's a very practical book.
Yeah, and I find with books like that, I'd rather have the physical copy anyway, because I always want to. I imagine my future bookshelf to be curated of books exactly like that. Do you know what I mean? That your kids then read.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, oh my God, have you guys celebrated?
We
Huge
have.
success.
I mean, we've had different bits of like celebration, but we are going away to celebrate.
Oh, nice. Anywhere nice?
It's a surprise.
Oh,
I've booked something. She doesn't know what it is.
Oh my God, how exciting.
I can't wait to reveal it at the airport.
That's going to be
exciting. I'm keeping tight.
I've always wanted
lips.
that. It's the hint. So Jamie, my husband, if you're listening,
Jamie,
I've always wanted that.
Get in there, Jamie. Yeah.
Oh my God, how exciting.
I think it's going to, it's so, do you know what? I have to say though, and I don't want people to misunderstand, we've had to work really hard to get here, because you don't just get a Sunday Times best-selling book. Like, there's so much, and I wish we had more time to talk about it, but there's a lot of work around marketing, and there's a whole psychology, there's a whole process. The concept of pre-order is a very odd concept, because nobody wants to pre-order
People
a book.
don't pre-order books.
Because society is very, I buy something now, I want it now or tomorrow.
Especially books. Books, I'm like, I expect it by 4 p.m. today.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So, but then I'm saying to you, no, buy this book, you get it in 6 months. Like, people are like, So it took a very different approach. And probably for a different conversation, but there's a lot of work to get to this stage. And like, I give you an example. 80% of both our working time, all of last year, was spent writing this book.
Wow.
A whole
80%?
80%.
Of both of yours?
Both of our working time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Was spent writing the book. Just so you understand.
A lot of time.
And obviously with that comes an opportunity cost, because you have to say no to projects, you have to say no to so many things.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to it. So writing a book is more like a long-term.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Long-term.
And that requires, and I know I'm keeping my eye on the clock, but there's so much we could talk about. But that, I'm going through something in my business right now where I'm like, okay, but let's focus on long-term goals rather than the short term.
Yes.
And that is one of the most challenging mindset shifts I've ever had to experience. It's so difficult.
It's difficult, but it's so important, and you reap the rewards. I'll give you a really good example. A lot of creators focus on majorly on views and likes, right? The instant gratification feels good. You're like, wow, people love it. Like, but then I remember one person gave me one of the best pieces of advice I've heard is that the content, like he said, YouTube, using YouTube as an example, he said, the videos you create is future content. It's not just like you put it out, you're refreshing. Like, has anyone liked it? Has anyone
Any comments?
Right? Any comments? But if you really think about it, your content has cycles that it goes through, the different times when it performs, different times when it doesn't perform. And even better than that, it's about the quality of who watches your content. This is why, like, I think we're on, I don't know how many followers, subscribers, maybe 70, almost 80,000, something like that. Some people go, you should have 1 million subs, right? And it'd be nice to have those things. But the thing I've learned when we walked into 10 Downing Street, got invited, and there were only 5 YouTube channels in the whole country invited to 10 Downing Street to come and speak to the Prime Minister and speak to various people. And I said to them, why did you choose the Humble Penny? They were like, because your content, what you say is what people get. There's no like clickbait. There isn't like, you're not trying to...
It's not fluff.
Yeah, you're trying to teach people how to get rich quick. You're literally like, this is it. So it's about the quality you get with your content and that sort of thing.
And do you know what I'd add to that as well is credibility goes far further than a big audience size. I've had a similar scenario where I've been in rooms with people with other creators and they all have had multiple millions of subscribers. One of them had 30 million.
Wow.
One of them had over 100 million, like one of the biggest YouTubers ever. And I was like, so is this an error? Is there another Jade Beeson you're supposed to be here? And I asked the same question. I was like, how comes you guys invited me here? And they were like, well, because you're very niche, you're specific and you're credible within one space. So when you do that, and I'm not saying everyone needs to niche, that's a whole other conversation, but if you do choose to, there is a clear benefit to that, because when the right opportunity comes up, you become a no-brainer. Because you're so aligned with that topic and you have such credibility and authority in that space. Absolutely. And it goes so much further than having millions of followers or subscribers, Kat.
100%.
Yeah.
We get it all the time. Like, numbers of subscribers doesn't really mean anything if you're not able to really monetize it per se. So numbers is vanity. Likes, all of that is vanity if you don't have a business plan, structure, and a way of
that long term as well.
long-term goals.
Guys, what a great convo. I've really enjoyed this. This has been so valuable.
It's been fun, actually.
It's been great.
It's been so good. I cannot wait for people to hear it. I can't wait for people to get your book.
Thank you.
Links below to your social channels as well as everything else that we've spoken about today for sure. Be sure to check it out, guys. You're going to get so much value. And let us know what you think. Thank you so much for coming all the way here and having this conversation. I've loved having you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And you're smashing it. So well done. I've just been enjoying watching you blossom and showing up in these big spaces. So
you. Guys, I pay everyone to say that at the end. So transfer you the money later.
Transfer the money.
yeah.